Republican presidential candidate Ben Carson was on Meet the Press on Sunday, and he was asked about faith and how much it should matter to the voters. Now, let's listen to that exchange.
Let me ask you the question this way. Should a president's faith matter? Should your faith matter to voters?
Well, I guess it depends on what that faith is. If it's inconsistent with the values and principles of America, then of course it should matter. But if it fits within the realm of America and consistent with the Constitution, no problem.
So do you believe that Islam is consistent with the Constitution?
No, I don't. I do not. I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
And would you ever consider voting for a Muslim for Congress?
Congress is a different story, but it depends on who that Muslim is and what their policies are, just as it depends on what anybody else is, you know. And you know, if there's somebody who's of any faith, but they say things and their life has been consistent with things that will elevate this nation and make it possible for everybody to succeed and bring peace and harmony, then I'm with them.
Oh, I'm with them. Except for Muslims. Because fuck that. You just said so. So, I mean, he just said, well, obviously not a Muslim. But anybody else, great. And for Congress, awesome. But, see, here's the thing. So if a Muslim had the right policy and he loved America, like I'm sure a lot of them do, he'd be okay with them running for Congress, but not the presidency because he's a Muslim. That's it. Simple. That makes no sense. That's not even consistent. And besides, you can't do that. It's unconstitutional. Article 6 of the Constitution says that anyone of any religion can serve in public office. Quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. But Dr. Ben Carson apparently seems to think that being a Muslim disqualifies a person, even if they have the right mindsets, policies, and they love America. And yet, sorry, your religion disqualifies you. Now, say the same thing about any other religion. Perhaps say that about a Jewish person. You know, if you're a Jew, obviously you can't run America. You can't be the president because you don't have the same values. Well, if you said that, heads would explode. Oh, what about something a little bit more close to home? What about not Christianity as a whole, obviously, but maybe the different denominations of Christianity, like a Quaker. Like, I'm sorry, you're not qualified to be a president. You could serve in Congress, no problem. But I don't think you're qualified. I don't think you have the right mindset to run America because every once in a while your religious faith says you're going to shake around. You're going to shake or speak in tongues. That's ridiculous. It's insane. But it's no surprise we've actually done that before. We've done that to Catholics, actually. Now, Catholics. If you remember, John F. Kennedy was a Catholic, and a lot of people were concerned, a lot of voters were concerned, mostly evangelicals and Protestants, were worried that if John F. Kennedy got elected, that he would start taking orders from the Pope. Well, that's really interesting. In fact, on September 12, 1960, Kennedy had to go out and say, no, I'm not going to take orders from the Pope. Relax. He said this, I'm not the Catholic candidate for president. I'm the Democratic Party's candidate for president, who also happens to be a Catholic. I do not speak for my church on public matters, and the church does not speak for me. That's pretty clear. Now, he also said that it was bigotry to relegate a quarter of all Americans to second-class citizenship just because they were Catholic. Now, does that sound familiar? Replace the word Catholic with Muslim, and you have exactly what's going on today. Now, unfortunately, there's a lot of Americans that agree. Gallup poll taken in June found that about 40% of Americans agree with Dr. Ben Carson, saying that they would not be willing to vote for a presidential candidate if he or she were a Muslim. Well, once again, as long as they respect constitutional law and respect the First Amendment, it doesn't matter what religion they are. It shouldn't matter what religion they are. We are a secular nation built on secular law, which means that anybody, it doesn't matter what religion, race, or creed you are, you should be able to run for president as long as you fit other qualifications like being old enough and being an American citizen. But still, as I said, it just happens to be a case of bigotry in this case. And fear. There's a lot of fear, a lot of Islamophobia going around. As I said, I don't care who's the president. I don't care if a Quaker is the president. I don't care if a Buddhist is the president. I don't care. Their religion shouldn't matter. How they govern and their policies should. And at least on that, Dr. Ben Carson is correct. Now somebody who had a problem with this is Democratic frontrunner in Iowa and New Hampshire, Senator Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders told a crowd in the opening of his new Portsmouth campaign office in New Hampshire that this is the year 2015. You judge candidates for president not on their religion, not on the color of their skin, but on their ideas, on what they stand for. Damn. Now, he also mentioned John F. Kennedy by saying, I'm very, very disappointed that Dr. Carson would suggest that a Muslim should not become president. It took us too long, to overcome the prejudice against electing a Catholic or an African-American president. And finally, people should be elected to office based on their ideas, not their religion or the color of their skin.